If I do this right, and I intend to do this right, this might be the most powerful thing that I ever share with you. I've been in the personal growth space and personal growth for 20 plus years, and I've coached entrepreneurs for a good part of 6 years on mostly going after their biggest elusive, inspiring goals, and then in order to do that, removing those mental barriers in order to free them up to pursue those so they don't get stuck in the process. And yet, with all these tools and these strategies that I have learned, adopted for myself and my business and my life, and then what I share with my coaching clients, this is usually the first thing I share. In fact, it's always the first thing I share. And here's the deal with it though. It's the most difficult thing to truly understand. And yet, if it's embraced and put into place, into practice, not sometimes, but every time, I promise you it'll be one of the most powerful concepts that you've ever adopted. It's a philosophy. It's a life philosophy. It's a business philosophy. It's a living right philosophy. And it's a figuring out how to move forward in the face of adversity philosophy. So let me share this with you. Until I learned this, I was totally one of the biggest life is happening to me guys out there. This happened, therefore, this cause and effect relationship, this person did this, therefore they're at blame or they're at fault. And running around like that for years and years of my life didn't serve me very well. And then someone taught me something. And I've heard it from 1 or 2 or 3 different gurus and personal growth and development leaders. And then I finally learned it from somebody. And when they shared it with me, they shared it with me slightly differently. And that's how I want to bring it to you today. So listen closely. Here's the concept. There is nothing that's happening to you. Everything is happening for you. There it is. As simple as it sounds, it's as difficult to embrace unless you open your mind to what's being shared here. Listen to me closely. There is nothing that's happening to you. Everything is happening for you. Now, when I first learned that, I thought that was ridiculous. Like, what are you possibly saying? That literally happened to me. I was rear-ended, or I got a flat tire in the middle of nowhere, or someone passed away. How could that be happening for me? So this is the turning point here. Listen closely. If this happens and we have a choice, we're literally standing at a crossroads. There's a T in the road. We're standing there. We can turn left or we can turn right. We can take the blue pill or the red pill. It is our choice. Choosing it's happening to me leads us down a rabbit hole. Where does it go? It goes into desperation, it goes into depression, it goes into victimhood, it goes into blame, it goes into uncertainty, it doesn't go into problem solving at all. It leaves us stuck where we are. But more accurately, it leaves us worse off than we are. Think about that. Where does it go? What can we possibly do with that? Casting blame, casting judgment, saying it's someone else's fault. All of those things don't go anywhere. Now let's take the opposite. Let's turn right instead of turning left. This happened, negative event, right? This is usually what we're talking about. It's not ideal. In fact, it sometimes, frankly, sucks. It just fucking sucks. That's the truth. What are our options at this point? Happening for me. If this happened for me, in this moment of making that decision that this happened for me, we get to look at possibilities. If it happened for me, how do I know that God didn't put this in my life for a very specific reason? Is He encouraging me to step up, to be a better leader, to figure out how to be a better problem solver, to rise up to the challenge, to be better and more proactive? Maybe I was in that situation because I was doing something over here. The cause and effect relationship to things is so vast and so deep and so unknowing. In other words, cause and effect. What we do on a Tuesday, whether we know it or not, might impact a Thursday. What time we go to bed, what time we get up, what we put in our face, what we consume, what we drink, what we don't drink, what we eat, what we don't eat, our energy levels, all of that is impacting something else, how we show up, how we drive, whether we turn left or we turn right, the decisions we're making. So in many ways, it literally is our fault. I have a t-shirt that reads, "Everything is my fault." Some people laugh at that and they say, "Oh, yeah, he's being funny. It's a kind of a joke about maybe my wife says it to me." That's not true at all. She doesn't say that to me. She understands. Everything is my fault, meaning it's my responsibility. I may not have asked for it, but in some ways we do ask for things. We just don't realize that we are. Everything's happening for me gives us an opportunity that we would not otherwise have. And here's the opportunity. I get to choose what to do next. I get to choose how to get better. I get to choose how to overcome. I get to choose to be a problem solver. I get to choose to embrace resolve. I get to have faith. I get to improve a system, a process. I get to ask, how can I get better? I get to ask, could I have done this differently? What could I have done differently in this situation? How can I avoid this in the future? The opportunities are endless when we pose it this way. When it's happening for me, there's a gift there. It's buried right in it. And I know this is hard. This is hard. There's something that happened earlier this year where I had an assistant. I was filming for my new coaching program coming out soon, and I'm excited for that. And I was on an all-day shoot, and I found out that she had decided to depart the organization, but it was quite a shock without any notice whatsoever. There's some circumstances behind that, but nonetheless, it was just like this, no notice whatsoever, and I had a lot of things in motion during that time a few months back, and it took me just a minute, but I was able to regroup through this philosophy because that certainly seemed like that was happening to me. I needed someone here at the helm. I was off producing my videos for my coaching program. I didn't have an assistant here at the office to run things while I was gone. I needed someone to help me launch the program. All of that seemed like, oh my God, what am I going to do next? And then I stepped back and ran it through the filter of happening to me. And in that moment, I was able to list 10 things that were actually benefits. I couldn't believe it, but I realized that if it wouldn't have happened that way, if God wouldn't have ripped the Band-Aid off, so to speak, at that moment, then that person in that seat would have been there when I really, truly needed someone else to be there 3 months later when I'm doing this big thing that I'm doing in my life. You see that? And sometimes it doesn't feel good. It feels downright scary and awful. And yet, when you step back and you look at it through the filter of happening for me, we find gifts there. And so for me, that was a gift. And more recently, right now, in the last 2 days, my family and I went on a European vacation. We've never done that before. It's the first time. We were gone for 2 weeks. It was beautiful, magical. Italy and Switzerland and France and Amsterdam. And on the way back, our luggage, 5 bags, 2 weeks full of luggage, completely were taken. Taken, meaning the airline, Air Serbia, I'll get into that in another video, lost or the baggage gone, and they have no customer service, believe it or not, that's going to help us with that. So here I'm looking at this through this filter again. This is really the reason why I decided to do this video today, because this is an easy one for me to say it happened to us. It really is. My daughters are crying because they have a lot of personal items in that baggage that from their childhood, and that hurts me deeply as a father to see my children crying. The rest of the stuff, clothes, shoes, makeup, hair dryers, all that stuff, whatever, that can be replaced. It's the stuff from their childhood. I mean, come on. That's crazy. And that hurts so badly. There's nothing worse than to see your children in pain. And I'm experiencing that right now. You might hear it in my voice and see it in my eyes. I don't have a choice here, though. This has got to be happening for me. Happening for me. Could have chose a different airline, although I went with what I thought was the best choice, right? And right now, this happening for me is a challenge. Maybe God's asking me how I can rise up, how I can help my children be able to let go of things and not be attached to materialism, whether it was something that was cherished or not. And gosh, that sucks. That's real hard. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's not being attached to anything and open to everything. Maybe it's an opportunity to teach them how to manifest and to visualize and to see that stuff coming back in divine order. And that's something I'm working on as well. Stay tuned for that. There's so much in that. But I tell you what, this whole victimhood, it's happening to us thing, and this is real right now happening, that's not going to serve anybody. I'm doing my best to teach them that, although they're not all that open right now, as you can probably imagine. But step by step, handwritten note to each of them, little texts I'm sending them every day, all of that to teach them this lesson. It's happening for us, not to us. I hope you can embrace this one. It's a big one. It's a powerful one. It's a life-changing one. And I promise you, if you begin to install it, not just once in a while, because here's the thing, we can't cherry pick these things. It's not something to cherry pick. You can't pick and choose these laws, these philosophies. It either is or it isn't. You either believe or you don't believe, right? You can't have faith and simultaneously not have faith. It's big faith. And big faith is not big like this, it's big like this, you see. It lasts a long time. It's not just one big event and then you don't have faith after that. So I have faith and I believe. And this is a part of that too, believing in a higher power, believing that God wants the best for us, and actually having this tactical philosophy in place allows us to get centered on that. Look for what it is that is for you, and you'll begin to find the answers to that, and you'll come out the other side better. This I promise you. Hopefully this video served you today. If you'd like to reach out, there's some links below. You can check out my other content, and so happy to serve you today. Go out there and look for the ways that this is happening. Whatever the thing is, even that thing. Yes, the thing that just came to your mind. You might be mad at me right now. I just realized that. And I get that. I would be too, perhaps. Look for what you can do with it. I promise you it'll serve you. And then share this with somebody else that needs to hear this message today. Go out there and do great things. We'll talk to you soon.